Got the transmission back installed. Also reinstalled the chain, and it seems to be working fine. Shifts through the gears, and seems to work. Now, next thing we need to do is we need to take apart the original shift linkage and install the new shift linkage. Now, I was kind of hoping that the new shift linkage was going to be a little simpler than this and have a little less moving parts, but after realizing it's going to be 2 shifters and 2 sets of shift linkage going from here to here, it's probably not going to be any simpler than this. Probably going to have a little bit more moving parts and probably going to be as chaotic as this, but in the long run it's going to work a lot better. It's going to be a lot easier to find gears, and it's just going to work a lot better. So let's take apart the original shift linkage and replace it with the new shift linkage. Alright, I'm really happy with how this turned out. It works a whole lot better than the original setup. Right now it's in neutral. This is reverse. That's neutral. That's first gear, back to neutral. Second gear, back to neutral. And that's third gear. So it's a whole lot easier. Finding gears, I really like how it turned out. So next thing we need to do is we need to cut these to length because they're just a little bit long. And then we're going to make some type of cap, pommel looking thing. So therefore we can engrave on the top where the gears are and all that kind of stuff. Basically just like a normal gear shifter where it kind of just shows you where the gears are and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to do the same thing to this.
Definitely not perfect, but they'll get the job done.
Alright, so the shift knobs are now installed. They're definitely not the prettiest things ever, but you know, the lettering and numbering at least. You know, I guess it works. You can read it. It works. So now we're finally done working on the secondary transmission and the shift linkage. We can now move on from working on that stuff. Hopefully this is the last time we ever have to modify anything or add anything to get it to work. So let's move on and start working on the rear hubs. We need to replace the bearings in the rear hubs. So, like I said, we need to replace the bearings on the inside of these hubs. Now, the bearings that I used for these are the proper ones that you're supposed to use for a setup like this. It's these. These are tapered roller bearings, two-piece tapered roller bearings, and when I built these, I didn't use the proper seals to seal all the grease in the inside, because when I bought these bearings from Northern Tool, they were out of stock on the seals, and I just thought, well, I'll come back later and buy them again, and they just never had them in stock. So I'm like, well, let me see if I can make some seals from scratch. And surprise, surprise, the homemade seals do not work. They just spray grease everywhere. Grease gets all over the rear suspension, makes a mess, gets all over the sprocket, and just mixes with the dirt and just becomes a sticky mess. So instead of going back to Northern Tool and buying the proper seals and modifying it to have proper seals, which honestly I can't do without remaking these right here, what we're gonna do is just replace them with bearings that are already sealed on the inside. Now, honestly, these are not the proper bearings to use for a setup like this, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna double them up. We're gonna have 2 of them on this side, 2 of them on this side. So therefore there's going to be 4 bearings for 1 hub. I bought 8 of these bearings to have enough for these things. And that's hopefully going to make it to where these will hold up to what we're doing with this project. So we need to take these things apart, clean the crap out of them, and clean up all the grease, clean up all the dirt, so therefore we can replace the bearings. Ooh, yummy. Now that is a lot of grease. Alright, so I was able to clean this stuff off using the parts cleaner last night. That actually worked a whole lot better than I thought it was going to, so that was kind of nice. Now, like I said, we're going to be using 2 of these bearings on either end of these hubs simply because I'm not entirely sure if just one of them would hold up to what we're doing with this vehicle, especially jumping and rocky terrain, all that kind of stuff, so that's why I'm doubling them up, just for double the strength. Now, it's going to be a little tricky to try to get this to work because these bearings, unfortunately, don't really fit inside of the original bore of these hubs. I wasn't able to find bearings with the same inner and outer diameter as the original ones. These, with the outer diameter, are 85 thousandths of an inch smaller than the original one. So how I'm going to solve that is I'm going to machine 4 spacers, I guess you'd call them, and then I'm going to press fit them in on both sides on both of these, and then I'm going to weld them in place just to make sure that they don't pop out or anything. Then I'm going to machine these to where both bearings fit on either end. Not perfect, but close enough. Don't need the Zerk fittings anymore, so let's take them off. Now, actually, before we put this stuff back together, let's replace these wheel studs. Now, at the time, I thought these were going to be strong enough, and they've held up so far, but I'm looking at, they're not even wheel studs. These are 3/8 grade 8 bolts that I've welded to the back of here, and like I've said, they've held up so far, but I'm looking at them and I'm like, there's a lot of weight on those back tires, and these are kind of tiny. And I bought a bunch of these for the rock bouncer build. I bought a bunch of extra, so we have extra. These are actual wheel studs. These are M12 by 1.5, and you can see the size difference between the two. So yeah, let's cut these off and replace them with these actual wheel studs that are way stronger. We're only going to be doing the back because most of the weight is on the back tires. The front, I think they're fine, so let's leave those alone. And let's just do it to the back. Moment of truth if this actually works, because there's a lot of bearings in here. If it's off by a little bit, it'll bind up when spinning. So here's the moment of truth, if this will work or not. So far so good. Ooh. Yeah, I'd say it works. No binding, no issues. Alright, awesome. Alright, got the rear hubs fully assembled. I had to add a couple extra washers on either side of this just because the new bearings they're just a tiny bit shorter. The other bearings, they stuck out a little bit more, so therefore with the new ones I had to add a couple extra washers, but seems to work great, spins freely, so now we can finally start working on reassembling the rear suspension. Alright, so things put back together. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add some paneling to right here and on the underside of this, mainly to just kind of hide this horrible wiring mess that I have just sitting on top of the engine. Honestly, I should do something about this. I should put this wiring harness somewhere else, but honestly, it's so cram-packed in here, I don't know where to put it. Because everything the wiring harness connects to is right there, so it's really convenient to have it right there. Otherwise, if I put it somewhere else, I'd have to lengthen, like, a ton of wires. I just don't really want to do that. Really, the only place that's available that's not next to a hot muffler, that's, you know, not next to moving parts, is right here. But you don't want to have a wiring harness super low to the ground in case you're driving through puddles. You don't want to do that. So instead of fixing the problem, we're just going to cover it up with some body paneling here and on the underside of this. We're going to be using this stuff. This is like some type of mesh type stuff. I found a bunch of this at the scrapyard. It's see-through. Still allows for airflow while blocking most of the vision being able to see through this. Now I kind of don't like how open it is right in here. You can still see the wiring harness. So I just cut 2 of these out, and I'm going to be adding these to both sides right here. I think that looks pretty awesome. I'm going to be welding this to this, so this is going to be one piece, and then mounting it here and here. Now, I haven't really decided yet if I like this or not. It kind of, it makes sense adding this stuff because, you know, kind of protect the wiring a little bit, make it to where you can't really see it, as well as it still allows for airflow. The engine can vent, still allows for, you know, plenty of airflow with the radiator. But I'm just looking at this and I'm like, it just doesn't really look neat. I don't know. I haven't really decided if I like this or not. If you look at it from directly behind here, this shape looks like a stop sign. So I don't know. Maybe it'll look better once it's painted. You know, I'm definitely gonna paint these black. I don't know if I've already told you guys the color choice, but I'm painting the main chassis black, and then all the parts that can be bolted off, like this, the swing arm, the trailing arms, or the trailing arms, the swing arms, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be painting green. So, and I'm going to be painting the side paneling green as well. But I'm going to be painting these, if I leave these on, black to kind of hide, or to kind of blend in with the frame and all that kind of stuff. So, I think let's leave it for now, and then if we really don't like it, we can always take this off or possibly change it, or I don't know. Also, I did an Instagram post showing you guys this and asking you guys what do y'all think, and it was like 50-50 between you guys liked it and you don't like it, so I don't know. Now, this thing is about 99% ready to paint. There's one more thing I want to do with this before painting, and that is take it off-roading yet again. I want to take it back to Brown Mountain, really ride it hard this time to test everything, to make sure everything's good, to make sure it doesn't need any further modifications, and then if everything's good, everything survives, we're gonna finally paint and finalize this project. Now, but for now, I'm gonna put this thing to the side, put it back in the temporary garage, and pull out the mini rock bouncer build, continue working on that thing. And then whenever I get to it, we're going to take this thing. I'm probably going to film going off-roading, but I'm not sure if I'm going to upload the video because I've already uploaded a video of taking this thing to Brown Mountain. And I'm definitely going to film it in case anything crazy happens, like a breakdown or something. But if nothing really spectacular happens, I may not upload the video just because I've already done a video of taking this thing to Brown Mountain. So I guess that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next one.